Okay, welcome to this Friday brunch Dharma talk, 17th of April. Bhante usually gives a Dharma talk before having his meal. I call it a brunch Dharma, sometime between breakfast and lunch. Now, there are lots of people who are interested in doing dana, and they feel that they can't understand Dharma. Dharma is such high, complicated stuff, So this is the opportunity, for monks and Bhante as well, to introduce to people, little bits of Dharma, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of Dharma, that's all. Something simple. Sometimes it's complex, When monks talk about Dharma, there are many different levels. Sometimes it's a very basic level, sometimes it's intermediate, and sometimes it's very a deep level, because different people are on different levels on their path. Now today Bhante is going to talk about Upadana. Upadana is translated as clinging. It's part of dependent origination, and it is one of the most important parts in our practice to understand Upadana. Well, independent origination is depending on craving, clinging arises. Depending on clinging, becoming. Now, independent origination is called clinging. When you hear other Dharma talk, they also talk about clinging, but they use a different word. They say attachment. Now, in the beginning, when you're craving, before it becomes a full attachment, there's always the clinging to what you're craving for. See? When you cling towards it, you become attached to it. Now, attachment is a kind of bond. You see, once you attach to something, I mean, there's a connection between you and the thing, or you and the person. Now, what's wrong with this attachment? You say, well, I enjoy this attachment, I feel comfortable with this attachment. Now, the thing is, you do not know the drawbacks of attachment. When you investigate what attachment does, then you understand how bad it could be. Well, the first thing is, when you attach to something, you're tied to something. That means you want to always be close to it, or you want it to be close to you, or you want the person to be close to you, or you want to be close to the person. The simple thing which we all are attached to, which most of us possess, is our mobile phone. We can't leave it for more than 5 minutes, we panic. We must be close to it, or it must be close to us. Well, maybe when you're going to the toilet, some of us carry it with us as well. There might be a text message, there might be a call, So that is a very strong attachment. Sometimes you sleep with it, That's attachment. And if we forget to bring our mobile phone when we go out, you're worried. What happens if I need help? What happens if this and that happens? We unsettle, we worry, right? And that's what attachment does. Attachment ties us down to what we are attached to. Even people, when you attach to somebody, you want to be near them all the time. You want them to be near us all the time. When they're going out, you can ask, where are you going? How long are you going? Who are you seeing? This kind of thing. And it's how long? Well, it's too long. You cannot go for too long. That's the attachment as well. That causes that. And then we do not want to part with it. We want to be close to it all the time. And that causes some suffering. You may not be aware of it, causes the worry, We think, it's okay to worry about this thing, But it's unnecessary. It's not part of life. It is part of attachment. And the other thing is we become overprotective, We don't want people to touch our mobile phone, or go near it, We do not want people to talk to our partner when you're too attached to them. You do not want people to even look at our partner, You're so jealous, overprotective. And then you get angry if somebody dislikes our mobile phone. You get angry when somebody doesn't like our partner, And it brings up all this emotion. And it's not part of life. And it's part of a defilement of attachment. Well, that's the first stage, of what attachment can do to you. First stage of what attachment can do to you, change the way you think, change the way you behave. But when you're strongly attached, right, you may do something wrong to protect it. You protect it at all costs, right? You do not know when that's going to happen. But when the time comes, when it happens, you do not have control. Your mind is in a frenzy you want to protect. And you regret doing things. Right? We all know, there's always a fight, when fights happen, between men, when someone's looking at another another man's girlfriend, and all this fight comes up, I mean, we might smile, at this kind of thing, but it happens in real life, and it happens often. And it happens when we are less mindful, and especially when you're going for a drink or something like that, in the pubs, that always happens. And that's all due to attachment, overprotectiveness. But even in our family, there's overprotectiveness because of attachment. And that's the relationship with mother and the children. This daughter-in-law is not good enough for my son, this future son-in-law, it's not good enough to marry my daughter. See? Because the mother can see the daughter of the children through the eyes of attachment, how precious they are. They only see all the good sides of the children. And nobody is worthy, Very few people are worthy, of their children. And if they are not aware of that, it can be taken to extreme, right? And you all know, and you come across this. It's often, Another thing is that when you're too attached to our things, you can't afford to part with it. You do not want to part with it. There are people who want to sell their property, but they're so attached to the property, they add sentimental value to it, even though it's broken down. And when somebody offers the price for the property, they say, oh, it's not good enough, it's worth more. And towards the end, they come to realize, that they've missed an opportunity. And then they sell their property at even a lower price. That's the drawbacks of attachment. When none of these, the parting of it, comes up, you enjoy your attachment, but you have to pay for it. Pay for it in terms of the suffering you have to go through, the burden you have to go through. And the worst thing is you become irrational. You see things differently. And you come to the third level of the attachment, and that's when you cannot part with whatever that you have. There are lots and lots of people who commit suicide because of a broken relationship. There are lots of people who suffer mental breakdown because their relationship ends. And there are lots of people who cannot go on living because their spouse has passed away, or the children has passed away, or the parents have passed away. I've seen many, many incidents. There's nothing you can help them. There's nothing they can do. Nothing we can do to help, because the attachment is so strong. But we live with all our attachments, never thinking one of these days this will happen. People older than us will definitely pass away. People about the same of us, same age as us, will also pass away. If you have a spouse, a partner, either you pass away first, or he or she pass away first. So that's going to be grief. And how long do you suffer that grief? Depending on how attached you are. And what do you do during the period of grief? Depending on how strongly you're attached. I remember when I was in England, going on tudong. Tudong means going from one place to another, walking, and I used to have my lunch at the cemetery because it's quiet, I get my food and then go to the cemetery. And then at every cemetery, I like to have a look at the tombstones, to see. And what I saw is usually, husband and wife buried together. And most couple die within 3 years of each other. Most of them. And those who died much later survived much longer. Some are 20 years, 30 years. Some who died in the war, 60 years, 70 years. But many died within 3 years or 2 years or even 1 year. And that is all due to attachment. When we are attached to something, we are tied to something, we are tied down. It's often used in the English language that we are tied down with the house, we are tied down with paying for a new car, we are tied down with children. That's it. So that's actually is. That's the actual feeling. We are tied down. We are hooked up. You're not free. We become slaves of the things we are attached to. We are bound. So the first thing is to learn to let go, to reduce this attachment. And how do you do it? You have to look at the 3 characteristics of all things that exist in the world. Basically, they are all impermanent. They don't last. That attachment relationship is bound to break. If you're lucky, you die earlier, you don't suffer the grief. Right? Impermanent relationship breaks down. Relationships are impermanent. People change their mind. People change their taste. People change their values. People change. Marriage breaks down. Divorce occurs in 1 in every 3 marriages. That's impermanent. Relationship sours. That's impermanent. It doesn't last. We change. People change. Our partners change. That's the first thing impermanent. And the second thing is that whatever we value, whatever we see as beautiful, whatever we see as precious, it's all our own making up. Believe me or not, it's all our own making up. Things are as they are. I've talked about this before, You can put in Paramattha Dhammas, ultimate reality. What are things consist? Nama and Rupa, mentality and materiality. Anything that doesn't have any mentality in it, it is only materiality, made out of atoms, molecules, and it becomes solid or liquid. And they assume different shapes, different forms, different hardness. That's about all it is. But when you have consciousness in it, mentality in it, then it can, and it moves according to the quality of the consciousness that exists in it. Right? So you can say that there is from a leaf to a worm to a frog to a dog to a human being and to a deva. So we have different kinds of being, and they are all just mentality and materiality. And whatever form or shape they come, how they are formed depends on both their DNA and the consciousness which contributes to part of its formation, to its development. From the beginning, from the first beginning of life to the end of life. Even our body changes depending on our consciousness. We all know that stress causes many diseases. So that's the nature of things, right? Whatever that we think of, something is precious, something is not precious. They are all our making up. So when we learn to see these things, the things, they're born, they exist for some time, they deteriorate and they're going to die, then we do not want to be too attached to it. And for the first reason, first level I've talked about, problems that come with attachment, the suffering that comes from attachment, and the second level of the problems that you come from attachment, being over to protect, not doing the right things you're supposed to do because you're attached to things. You're supposed to do many things, but you're addicted to your mobile phone. And then you suffer later. Suffer the consequences. And the last level, where you're really heartbroken. Your whole world collapses. So that's what attachment brings to you. Daily you must have attached to things. I get this little joy, this little happiness to the things that I'm attached to. Right. That is small compared to the great suffering it could bring to you. So these are things you want to be aware of. Right? You want to be aware of these things. You want to know these things. This thing happens to other people. This thing can happen to you. You do not want attachment. Right? As you practice deeper and deeper, you'll find that your fear for attachment becomes stronger and stronger. That's when you're actually seeing the truth. That's when you're actually seeing the cause of suffering. That's when you really know that it's not worth, to have attachment to things, not worth to hold on to things. Very, very soon, suffering will follow, and it's definite. The moment you want things, that's the moment the suffering arises. As soon as you crave for something, you cling to that craving, and that makes suffering arises because you think, I might not be able to get in. Right? When can I get in? All that suffering comes up. So reflect on this and investigate on this and see how suffering arises, from your attachment, or how suffering can arise due to your attachment, or how you can go the wrong way with this attachment, and how you can go out of your mind by being addicted to your phone. How you do not become normal. So when you come to know this truth, and you start letting go of this attachment, you don't feel tied down. That means you're free. You're lighter. You don't have to worry. You are not constrained. That is something you have to discover for yourself. Right. There are other ways to develop merit. I've said before, when you listen to Dhamma talk, you gain merit. When you straighten your view by listening to this Dhamma talk, you get merit. Do Dhamma, you get merit. And you can also get bonus merit by transferring merit that you have attained today, that you've got today, to your departed relatives. This merit will support them. And this bonus merit may support you in the future. So I'm going to chant transference of merit. And now that you have merit, you can transfer it to your departed relatives and claim your bonus merit. Yatha varivaha purapare purinti sarameva meva ito dinam petanam upakapati ichitam patitam tumham kipam iva samijatu sape purintu sangapa chandopanara yatha manijoti raso yatha sapitiyo Jantu sabarogo vilasatu mati pavan vantarayo sukhidika yuko bhava pivatana sili sanicam Buddha pacayino cattaro dhammava tanti ayuvano sukham Balang bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanupavena satha soti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanupavena satha soti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang Rakhantu sabba devata sabba sanghanu Pavena satha soti Pavantu te